This episode of Thinking Tackle is in association with Daiwa Linear BR Reels.
Well, welcome to Thinking Tackle. I didn't expect to be getting a bite as quickly as this. We're at Swan Valley, which is in the sort of Yateley area of the country, down in Surrey. Oh, it's a lovely scaly mirror. And I've only literally been fishing 20 minutes. I've not even put the bit of tape marker on this right-hand rod that's roared off. Let's just stop him going under them trees. Literally, I just put the tape on the other rod. I've not even turned the buzzers on yet, and I saw the line pick up in the water and it roar off, and it's taken me through every weed bed in the world, giving our crew time to get over here. And he's a lovely, lovely carp. The fish have been spawning this morning, so we weren't really expecting a lot of action. I keep saying we because I'm here with Tom Dove. He's been fishing this place a little bit this spring. Basically because we told him we were going to make a TV show here and he'd better find out about the place. So we're obviously going to be picking his brains on how he's doing it, because he's been pretty successful already. And if I get a few more, I'll probably show you how I'm doing it as well. But for now, I'm just going to concentrate on getting this fella in the net, because there is loads of Canadian pondweed right in front of me, and I shouldn't really be talking to you. I should be worrying about this fella, because it's a lovely fish. Gotcha! Oh, thank God for that. What a start. And there we have it. What a stunning fish to start the show off with. 23 pounds 6 ounces. Looks pretty spawned out to me. An absolutely beautiful linear. And what we're going to have a look at in the show is why we've chosen the spots we've chosen. I've never been here before, so it's good to get off the mark fairly quickly. There's a lot of big fish in here, so we could easily get amongst them. We're obviously going to show you the baits and the rigs we're using as well. So we're going to get this fella back, and then we're going to look at why I'm fishing where I'm fishing. Wicked. Basically chosen this spot, to be honest, because it's a couple of swims down from where Tom's fishing. The fish this morning were at the other end of this part of the lake. Swan's actually cut into 3 different lakes. This is probably the smallest one of the 3, and it's also the shallowest one, and that's why the fish have come in here to spawn. We've purposely not set up right in front of them, because you're going to get liners all the time and you don't want to be fishing for spawning fish. So we've come a little bit back up the lake. Oh, I think bloke in the swim next door has just had a bite. We've come a little bit further back up the lake away from them, and I've cast around with the marker float a few times. There's quite a lot of Canadian pondweed out there, but I've found an area of very smooth silt, so when you're pulling the float back, it just goes back nice and smooth along the bottom. It's not getting dragged into anything, and then I hit some weed. So I've cast back out again, found the same bit again, got both rods clipped up on the mark, and I've probably put about 10 or 12 spodfuls out. I didn't think I was going to get a fish as quickly as I did. They're obviously moving up and down the far margin, and they've come across that bait quite quickly. So the other rod's come back in again because I felt I'd moved it when I had that bite. So that's going back out there just to make 100% certain that it's not tangled up or anything. And then the other rod's going to go right next to it. I'm fishing both very close together. I'm only fishing 2 rods as well because it is a very confined swim and it's quite a small lake. I don't want too many lines out there. So let's get this fella out there. He's already clipped up. Hopefully it will drop right first time. Right, that's just a nice sort of soft thud on the bottom. So that's gone into probably a lovely little bit of silt out there. I'll just take it out of the clip and then just tighten up and just carefully sink the line. I'm using fluorocarbon main line because I'm not fishing very far out. It's super heavy. I'm not going to fish a back lead because there's so much weed out there. I'm going to pull off loads of slack before I actually put the bobbin on to make sure that it's all sunk down on the bottom. Right, let's get this one out there first time as well. I'm just picking out trees on the far bank that I'm going to be able to see at night, so if I get a bite at night I can get it back out there. Beautiful. Okay, out the clip. This one's got to have a line marker put on it because it roared off even before the line marker went on there. So they're obviously well onto the bait. So I'm going to put that line marker on and see what the evening brings. Good morning, welcome to this beautiful summer's morning. It's been absolutely pouring down all night, as you can see from the mud everywhere. Nothing happened during the night. I had 3 or 4 liners which kept me up, but nothing actually developed into a take. I've put some more bait out this morning, and probably half an hour after that happened I had a take, and unfortunately got in the weed before I got to the rod. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually doing the reel up tight so no line can be taken off the reel at all when I get a bite, in the hope that I can get to the rod quicker and stop the fish going in the weed. So I'm going to put both the rods back out again now and then drop a few spodfuls out, both on the same spot again on that little bit of silt out there. That seems to be producing the bites. Donk. Lovely. That just felt down nice and soft onto a bit of silt. I'm just going to sink the line. Unfortunately, there's a lot of floating weed. Where the fish have been spawning, there's a lot of floating weed out there, and it's very difficult at the moment to get the line sunk. So I'm doing it as quickly as I can before any weed gets on the line. That's it gone, and then I'll just slacken off and just let the line sink a little bit. I'd like to be fishing a tighter line, to be honest, but I know that in that depth of water, 7-8 foot out there, if the line's really tight, it's going to be picking the anti-tangle system up off the bottom, and it's going to be much easier for the fish to detect it. So I'm just going to slacken off a little bit on there. Right, and then I'm doing the clutch up super tight so the fish can't take any line. So that bobbin's hopefully going to shoot up to the top and everything's going to go tight, the fish isn't going to go very far. I'll rush out the bivvy and hopefully I'll be into one. So that's the first rod done. I'll let the line settle a little bit before I put the bobbin on. I'm just going to take a little bit of slack off there just to let the line sink a little bit more, and then do him up tight again and just give it a few minutes before I put the bobbin on. Right, let's do rod number 2. Right, let's get this one first time. What I'm going to do afterwards is put a few more spodfuls out because the bait definitely seems to be bringing them in. So just check it's not tangled around the tip. Let's check behind me. Lovely. Right, that's bang on the money. Just sink the line down quickly as I can. And this is all basically to illustrate that you shouldn't just be sitting there behind rods. If things are happening, I was getting liners, there were bubbles coming up over the swim, and then a big fizz came up and I thought definitely something's got away with the rig. And it's only through doing the underwater films that I've sort of learnt to redo things if I'm not happy, rather than sitting there all day behind motionless rods. If you don't feel happy with something, if you think something's happened, then there's no harm in redoing. Normally I'd redo one rod, this time I've redone both. There's no harm in redoing it. Just put a little bit more bait out, a couple of spodfuls, and draw the fish back in again and hopefully get another chance. Because if the fish have moved the rig and there's very, very spooky of it, then you might sit out there for the rest of the day with absolutely nothing happening, where a recast and a little bit more bait can actually draw them back in again. So I'll just put those rods in nice and solid in the backrest. Because I'm fishing locked up, I don't want the rods getting dragged in. And I'll let that line just sink a little bit. Just do that up nice and tight just in case I get a bite straight away. That first one now has been in the water for probably 3 or 4 minutes, something like that. So I can put the bobbin on now, the line's not going to sink anymore, and then do that clutch back up nice and tight. And I'm going to get a couple of spodfuls out there to draw the fish in, and then hopefully in a short while something will happen.
This episode of Thinking Tackle is in association with Daiwa Linear BR Reels.
It's time to knock up some more bait. I've put about probably 25 spodfuls over the spot now, so I'm going to show you what I'm putting together. The old faithful chili hemp first of all. I'm using the cans just because I've run out of the pots. Now if you wanted to make this stuff yourself, literally just like a handful of, well, probably a palmful of chili flakes that you just get out of a Chinese supermarket into the chili before you even start soaking it, and then cook it in it with a little bit of salt as well, and that will give you a really, really spicy sort of chili smell and taste. So you don't need to buy all the tins, but I'm just using them for convenience. I can keep them in the back of the van, and the hemp's not going to go off or anything. So we'll give that a good mix round first of all. Then my chopped boilie that I've basically chopped up in a blender before I came on the session. Always do pretty much all the bait. I knew I was going to be spodding here, so I thought I'd chop it all up first. This is the cell, one I've been using over the last couple of years. Got complete confidence in this stuff. And the chop bits mean the fish are going to be in the swim longer, eating all those lovely little bits, and it also means they're not round as well, so less startling for the carp that have been caught on round boilies a lot. So they're the two main ingredients, the chili hemp and the boilie, and then of course the ever faithful tuna, just the cheapest stuff that you can get out of the supermarket in the brine. Carp love salty things, so tuna in brine is going to attract them in. Fish absolutely love this. Couldn't make a spod mix without this one now. I've got so much confidence in it. So a couple of tins in there. That's going to cost you about 60p. extra to go into your spod mix, and I think it's worth every penny. So really just flake all that up. You don't want big bits on the bottom of the lake, you want loads of little tiny flaky bits all over that silt and the little bits of weed and stuff that are out there. If you're fishing on gravel, it falls in between all the little bits of gravel. I'll give that a good old mix up. That's looking super carpy already. And then we're going to just spice things up even more and just get all those flavours flooding out of all that stuff. So first of all, good old-fashioned salt. Put it on your dinner, it tastes better. Put it on your bait, it tastes better. So a fair bit of that. Carp love salty things, and that might seem like a lot, but remember it's being diluted into the water, and I think it's forming like a halo over the top of the bait. A lovely sort of salty, flavoursome smell coming off your spod mix. So that's all of that mixed in, and then if it wasn't spicy enough, a little bit of chili powder again, just the stuff straight out of the supermarket. Again, it seems like loads, but that's going to be flushed out by the water. So give that a good mix round. I like to do this before I leave home with my first mix, just to give all those juices time to soak into the boilies. And the one thing you'll notice, I haven't put any pellet in here at all. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, pellet seems to bring the bream in. I don't know much about the lake, but if there are bream here, the pellet will bring them in definitely. And two, the pellet in your spod mix after probably 5 or 6 hours will stodge up, and it will stop the stuff coming out your spod as easily. This stuff, you can press it down into the spod, you lose hardly any out the back of it, but it will flush out straight away and get down onto your spot. So that is my mix, or munger as we call it. Super carpy. Be happy to use that absolutely anywhere. I'm going to trickle in probably 4 or 5 spodfuls every few hours if I've not had a bite, and try and draw those fish back in and try and get another bite. So that's my bait. Well, I'm over in Tom's swim now, getting out of this glorious weather, and I'm just going to pick his brains a little bit about his meteoric rise to success. Right. But you know, I mean, I know you're quite sort of bashful about it, and you don't think it's a big thing. But a lot of young people watching will think that you've got the dream job.
Right. Well, I have a little bit.
But you know, first of all, if you sort of explain a little bit about, you know, where you started carp angling and how much fishing you had to do before you started getting in the magazines and all that sort of thing.
Just normal day ticket waters first of all. Just
like where?
Crow Green was my first one, I think.
Right, yeah, I know that, yeah.
Brentwood, yeah. I started there, and then I moved out to Spain for a couple of years, so I was sort of back and forward all the time. And then Walthamstow was my main sort of area where I fished then. Where
you cut your teeth, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's definitely, you know, I mean, I've done a little bit of time over there, and it is all very much under that. No, not that branch, and you've got to be under there, and that is your sort of fishing, isn't it? It's that flicking one in the spot where no one else can get it.
That's
and
it,
yeah, slam up.
The Walthamstow way, it's the casting to islands and just sort of a little bit of bait and chasing fish around everywhere, basically. Yeah,
which is probably what a lot of people do if they haven't got a lot of time to fish. Then they are turning up for a few hours, doing an overnight or whatever. Yeah. They haven't got the luxury that I've got, where I can do a couple of days at a time and build an area. And you can see that in what you do. You know, when you're everything's like, it's very, I don't know, very smooth, and there's a lot of finesse and all that. No, there is seriously to that. And it's sometimes when you see, like when we do the Carp Academy and stuff, and you see kids fishing, it's just like all crashing in. Yeah. Like you were saying, that guy who was casting on the other side over there. That's what you want, a leg down. You know.
I think it's because when you haven't got much time to try and catch a fish, you want to be as stealthy as possible, because you don't want to be scaring them away. You're not going to get one as soon as possible. So I always try and fish for a bite and get one as quick as possible, because then I can just move on to my next bite then. So,
right. What, in the same swim or in a different?
Yeah, in the same swim or a different swim or whatever.
Right.
You know, I'm never fishing for a big hit straight away, because you haven't got enough time to do it.
Right. Okay. Because Walthamstow's days only.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We only got a few hours. Right. Okay. And where have you moved on to since Walthamstow then?
From Walthamstow I went to Manor, and that was completely different to Walthamstow, like a smaller lake, much deeper, and I had a bit more time then as well, because I had sort of a year out doing fishing, basically. So I was
doing nothing.
Nothing. No, fishing. No. So I was over there probably 3 days a week, and that was a total different type of fishing for me.
In what sense?
Fishing more like you do, sort of setting traps, knowing that you've got 3 days to try and catch a fish.
Right, okay. Lots of bait, or?
Yeah, still not a lot of bait, because I still wanted to bite as quick as I could get one. Yeah, basically, yeah, not very much bait at all.
So, and I've noticed as well, like, you know, the chod rig and zigs and all that sort of thing features quite heavily in your fishing.
Yeah, it did over the manor anyway.
But the chod as you use it is not how I would use it.
Right,
because you've got no tubing or no leg core or nothing on, have you?
No, I think it was because the chod rig, everybody used it over the manor for the first year.
Right.
And then everyone stopped catching on it, and I thought it was because of the lead core. So then that's why
it was so visible.
It was so visible. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So that's when I changed onto just fishing it on the fluorocarbon, and you can fish it much more sort of delicately then, because you can balance the.
That's the word I was looking for, mate. Delicate. Oh, that's right. That's how your fishing is. Very, very delicate. I think I'm a bit like bull in a china shop when I do it, but everything is like just so.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's something that you can't. It's very difficult to teach people that.
It's just a style of fishing, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the way you approach where you're going to fish.
Yeah, yeah. So what about being in the mags and that sort of thing? I mean, how did that come about?
That was in between. Well, when I first got my manor ticket, I'd done the junior British Championships. Right. And I was just lucky enough to win it, basically. And then it went on from there.
I don't think it was just luck, mate.
No, it was a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it went on from there. That's when you sort of start to get noticed, and people ask you to do things, and you know, it become more than just fishing and more of a job for me. After that.
And what's it like being recognised?
Yeah, it's slightly weird.
Yeah.
Not just fishing and somebody recognised you for fishing. I think it's it's weird, very weird.
Yeah. And for long-term plans, I mean, obviously fishing on Swan, you've done what, half a dozen trips now?
I think not even that. 5 trips I think I've done. 5
trips.
Weekends.
And how have you done so far?
Yeah, right. I've had a few fish. I say unlucky with the size of the fish, but I'm just catching loads of small ones. That's all it is.
Right.
I've caught one 30-pounder. But yeah, it has been good fishing. I've caught every trip, but I just feel like I haven't got amongst the bigger fish. And there's a lot in here because they're getting caught all around me.
They are, yeah. They're getting caught all around us at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it does seem to be as a fizzer up. Look, just in, you can see, just through the for things there. That's got to be fish in it there.
I think so. I think it's where they're spawning today. They're sort of flanking on the bottom. That's why we're getting them massive flumes of bubbles.
Yeah. But it seems to be the people that are having them are fishing right underneath the trees, aren't they? Remote control boating.
It does make it hard when people are using bait boats, because they can get to places you basically just can't.
Yeah. So would you never use one then?
No, I just don't think it's right. I think if you cut, I don't know, it's just not right.
Yeah, I know how you feel. I know if you cast, you feel like you've done the whole job, don't you?
And you miss the touch, because they don't. You know, you can't even feel the lead down on it with a boat, or it just doesn't feel right to me. But I'm got nothing against people catching them with them, but I just wouldn't use one myself.
Right. Okay. And how long do you think you'll stay on here for?
I don't know, just maybe another couple of trips, then I'm back over to Lower Maynard, Wolverhampton. I think for the end of the summer.
For the big fully scaled.
For the big fully scaled, yeah.
So if someone was going to, let's finish off with this, because if someone was going to fish the Wolverhampton complex, what is the biggest tip you could give anyone walking onto that complex with no prior knowledge of it?
Keep it simple and light. So you can walk around.
Right, okay.
So 2 rods, a net and an unlucky mat, that's basically all you need, just to keep walking around.
And just follow the fish, basically, and if you see them, cast to them.
Not a yellow pop-up anymore, because I've been used to it.
Do you know what I was going to say? I was going to say yellow pop-up would be in the armoury, but no.
Not anymore. They used to work a lot, but I think everybody's just overused them now. Them anyway. They still catch anywhere, because a fish won't get caught on it enough times to not eat one again. I think anyway.
So what do you use now then?
I'm balanced bottom baits use now, just single balanced bottom baits, and I'll stick about 20 baits around it.
Right.
And that seems to be working at the minute.
Right. Definitely. So just fish for a bite, basically.
Fish for a bite all the time, yeah. And then as soon as you get your bite, you can fish for another one, then, can't you?
Yeah. Well, words of wisdom from young Mr. Dove. Obviously, we're going to be picking his brains on that chod rig and how he's fishing on these particular venues. But if you're going to go to places like Wolverhampton, just as he said, keep things light, be mobile, fish for a bite at a time.
This episode of Thinking Tackle is in association with Daiwa Linear BR Reels.
Well, good morning. Welcome to the final morning, and I'm playing a carp. I've changed the rig around a little bit, I had a small common in the night, which is in the other net down there, and also lost one which weeded me up before I got to the rod, even though I was wound up solid. And I've changed the rig around a little bit, and hopefully when we get this fella in, I'm going to show you the rig, because it's called the KD rig. I've been using it a hell of a lot, and I think a lot of people are interested in it, and it'd be nice to show you exactly how to tie it once this fella goes in the net. But I've shortened the rig down because we felt the fish were feeding over the top of me yesterday, and I wasn't getting pickups, and I reckon they were getting away with it. So I've gone for a stiffer coated material called the hybrid stiff, and I've shortened it right down to about 4 inches, maybe a bit less than that even, and it's produced a take. So I'm going to put that on both rods and show you how it's tied. Come on, baby. Oh, it's quite a good fish actually. That weed's really not helping. Oh, come on. In you come. Get in the net. Get in the net. Get in the net. Got him! Come on! Wicked, excellent. Well pleased with that one. Oh. Oh. Beautiful. Look at that. What a stunner. What a stunner. That's one of the nicest carp I think I've ever caught. He is 32, 12. Pucker, well chuffed with that one, well chuffed. How about this for a stunning creature? Look at that, 32.12. He's probably 36 pound or more before he spawned, or before she spawned. What a stunning, stunning creature. Absolutely beautiful. Well chuffed with this one. We're going to get a few stills of him or her, get her back, and then show you that KD rig. Well chuffed. Well chuffed. The KD rig is taken from a guy called Kenny Dorset. It's not Korda Developments, which a lot of people thought. Ken is an absolutely fantastic angler. Has been fishing a lot of the Essex circuit waters for a lot of years and absolutely tipping them out. He's moved on to the Swan Valley and other places now. And I've heard through the grapevine that with this rig and the bait he's currently using, if he couldn't fish with them, he probably wouldn't go fishing. He relies on them that heavily. And I started using it because Ali was using it, and a few of his mates had come up with a very similar thing at around the same sort of time. And it's very difficult to explain why it works, but it certainly does work. So I'm going to tie it for you now, and then once it's made up, I'll show you the mechanics of the rig itself. So first of all, a bit of coated hook link material. You can use braid or coated material. I'm just going to strip that off in my teeth there. That's the soft hybrid material, so the coating comes off really easily. And then I'm going to cut it, probably, I'm going to use quite a short hook link here. I'm going to cut it just a little bit longer than I need. And then the all important pattern of hook. This one's called a curve shank, but it's available from several different companies in the same pattern. And you'll see once I've tied it why it's so important. So I'm basically tying the knotless knot, but slightly different from the standard way. So I'm going to do a couple of turns around the hook as normal, and then pull the hair back out the way and carry on turning around the hook. And I'll just do enough turns so there's about an inch of exposed braid left, and what that's going to do is that's going to allow the hook to lift very easily into the fish's mouth. The end of the hook link goes through the eye of the hook towards the point, as it always should with a knotless knot. Very, very important that it's coming through that side of the eye there, and you can see there the hair is coming off sort of midway down the knotless knot, almost back towards the eye, and the reason for that will become apparent in a minute. So from there I'm going to actually tie my hair, so I just make a loop like that and then pinch it together tight, wrap it behind, and then use a baiting needle just to drag one through the others like that, and that's your loop tied. Now that effectively is the hook tied on. There's no rings, there's no shrink tube, nothing else to be done. That is pretty much it. And then what I'll do is I'll just tie a link loop onto the other end. This hybrid soft acts very similar to mono, so whatever knot you like to tie in mono to the eye of anything, you can use exactly the same knot with a hybrid soft. No need to steam it or anything like that. So I'm going to use a Palomar knot in this situation. So I'm going through the eye of the link loop and then back through, so if I carried on pulling it, it'll all disappear through that loop. And then you're basically tying that, get that together, you're tying it in a simple overhand knot, what I would call a granny knot. Let's go through there and I'll show you once I've done it. Like so. So you've got your link loop in the middle of that granny knot, pull it up a little bit tighter, and then the end of the link loop goes through that single loop there, and just pull it up a little bit tighter, and then with at the back of the knot there, those loops, if you pull them away from the link loop, get it down so it's onto the thin end there, and see all the loops are the same size. I'm going to wet it, and then making sure that I'm holding both bits of line, just pull it up tight. I'm going to use my rig puller just to get that down really, really tight. Very important to tighten the knot as tight as you can yourself. That's all tightened down now, so it can't slip at all. There's no way that hook link is going to snap or cut itself. And I'm just going to cut the tag end off there. Right, so that's effectively the hook link tied. So it's very, very similar to a standard knotless knot hook link, but the thing that's going to make it different is the buoyancy of the hook bait and the fact that I'm going to have a little shot on the hair. But before I do that, this is why I think the rig works. Everyone's got their own opinion on it, but if I put that rig in the palm of my hand and then tighten up the hook link, can you see how that's turning over and catching hold? And what's happening in the water is, because you've got a buoyant bait and it's counterbalanced by a little split shot on the hair, the bait is effectively weightless. So the rig is working in the water exactly like it's working there. So see that, how that's turning over every single time, and that shape of hook exaggerates that. That curved shank hook actually exaggerates that. So I'm going to put the bait on and the shot on now, and then we'll show you how the whole lot ends up. And these are the baits that I've been using during this session. They're homemade pop-ups. You can see straight away there they're not round. I've just squeezed them between thumb and forefinger when I'm making them to make them look like chops, because I'm feeding chops out there, so I want the hook bait to look exactly the same. Now if you're going to use pop-ups that you're buying in the tackle shop straight out the pot, then just cut all the round bits off them to make them slightly square like that so they look like a chop. You can also use a couple of grains of plastic corn as a hook bait. I've caught quite a lot of fish on that with this, but for now we're going to put one of these baits on. This is the new Grange that's going to be out probably next year, but any food bait that you use, you can knock it up with a Polaris, a little tiny bit of base mix as well from the boilies you're actually using, and then the bulk liquid in it to flavour it up. And then I'm just literally pulling that onto the hair like so, and then we'll put our hair stop on. And a good little tip with the hair stops, if you put them on in a strip, let's just get that on there, then pull it down tight and then break it away, they're just a little bit easier to work with. So that's the rig. Of course we need a split shot on there to counterbalance the buoyancy of that pop-up, otherwise it will lift the whole thing off the bottom. So put a split shot on, like so, just squeeze that down. That's it. So if I drop that down, the hook should be laying flat, and then the shot should just be resting against the bottom, like that. Remember, we're fishing over spod mix, so we don't want it really, really buoyant, so it's sitting up like that, because that's going to look really unnatural and the fish can leave it. So as long as the hook's lying flat, you don't want it sinking too fast, because we'll then be making the eye of the hook heavy and the point light. And the beauty of this rig is, because you've got such a light bait, it flies back in the fish's mouth very easily, but you're making the eye light, which in turn makes the point heavy, and that's what makes it turn and catch hold. So I'm going to attach that to my lead system now. Get a little silicone sleeve just onto the end of the hook link. That's just going to stop it pulling back off again. Obviously I'll be fishing this with a PVA stick. I use one pretty much every time I cast out, and in this situation it just stops the hook getting caught in any silt or anything on the bottom. So I'll just click that onto my quick link there, slide the silicone sleeve over the top, so there's no way the hook link can get back off again. If I just pick that whole lot up so you can see, that is it. That is the rig I'm using for this session in its entirety, the KD rig with a tiny little chop hook bait. And you notice there as well, everything's very dark. I've got the dark green hook link, I've got the silty brown safe zone leader, a dark coloured lead and lead clip and everything, so it blends in with that silt out on the bottom. I think that's really, really important for getting bites during the day, to blend everything in. You don't want to use any light materials, light in colour, because they're going to glow on that silt. So if you're going to fish on silty bottoms and you're going to fish over a spod mix with chop baits in, that's what I recommend.
This episode of Thinking Tackle is in association with Daiwa Linear BR Reels.
I went over to see Tom on the other side of the lake to ask him where he was going to put his baits, or where he'd been putting his baits, and he wasn't there anymore. He was here. So, we've come round to the other side to talk a little bit about location and also to talk about rigs. So first of all, why the move, mate?
It just didn't seem to be happening for me over there. I just weren't getting any bites. I had a few tench and that.
You caught two before we got here though,
yeah,
didn't you?
I did catch two before,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
But, I felt like I should be getting more fish, so I had a reel in and walk around, and I saw a few fish in this little bay here. I had a quick go from on the surface, but one big fish come up and sort of had a little look at it, but nothing else. So I went and got my gear and come round here.
Right. Okay. So the wolf must stay away.
Yeah, I suppose you can.
If you're not getting them move.
Yeah.
And in this particular, I see you've got a rod out there.
Yeah.
What are you fishing to out in this little bay?
I've actually cast over to the other side on that one, walked around and just put it in the edge, because it's quite hot and you're in sort of the upper layers of the water. I won't be in shallow water really.
Right. Okay.
So I've just sort of dropped it in the edge, and it does look good over there.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. It's a good little tip as well, actually. What is it? Just on that little gap. You've gone into that gap over there,
you can
have you?
see where you can sort of walk through to that
Right.
bit there, and it's just like a little gravel area.
Yeah.
I actually went round here to have a look, see if my bait was right, and the fish did come down to
Really?
Yeah, and it just swam away. I was, no.
Right. Okay. Well, let's have a look at the rig then that you've got out there, and you can talk us through. The first thing that's glaringly obvious for me, you've got a braided hook link on,
Yep.
and you've got no tubing on,
Right.
which to me is like tangle central.
Yeah.
You know. How do you get away without that tangling?
Bag, generally a PVA bag. I slide it down the hook link so it covers the hook.
Right.
Just that extra bit of weight, make sure it just doesn't tangle, like, you know.
Right, okay. And there's one other thing that you do as a matter of course that you haven't said, that a lot of people probably don't do, that causes them tangles.
I don't know, what's that?
Feathering it?
Oh, feathering it down. Oh yeah, hitting the clip, yeah.
Hitting the clip and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, as long as you make sure you stop the lead before it's the surface, it straightens everything out.
Exactly.
Instead of it plummeting.
So rather than plummeting in like that and ending up going round, if it hits the clip, it throws it that way, doesn't it?
Just like you would on the surface when you're trying to flick your chum mix it.
Yeah, well, just like you would, but this is the thing, a lot of people don't actually fish like that, and it's good to point out them sort of things so that people know that by hitting the clip or just catching it just before it hits the surface, it throws it out, because you know it's the stuff you take for granted, but not everyone knows that.
Right, okay.
So lead wise, what's that, about 3 ounce pair lead?
3 ounce pair, yeah. I always use them just because don't know, just one I've got used to and always use them.
Right. And that feels down onto the bottom a little bit better, does it, I suppose?
Much better than anything else, because it's got a bigger surface area at the bottom. You can
Right.
feel what it's landing on. It's like
Right. Okay, and again, another thing, I do it all the time, and I've talked about it in other shows, but as a matter of course, you're feeling the lead at the bottom.
Every single time. If I don't quite catch it right, or I don't know whether it fit, I'm reeling.
Right.
So it has to feel damn right for it to stay out there.
Good. Okay, all right, because it's them little things that you do without even thinking about it that I think, for me, I know they get me more bites, do you know what I mean? And a lot of other people don't do it. So hook bait wise, that looks like a bottom bait that you've adjusted there. So what have you done to that?
I've just drilled out 2/3 of the way through and put a cork in there, just so it lightens it slightly.
Right, okay. And how will that sit then on the bottom?
It actually sits slightly strange. It will sit, it will sit sort of like that, with a hook nearly on the side of the bait. It doesn't look right when it's in the bottom, but when it goes in the fish's mouth, it reacts better than it would if it was the other way around.
Right, okay. So having it light, you want it light on that side of the bait on purpose, so it sits almost like that, does it?
Yeah, almost, yeah.
And I see there, set up KD style, just with the hair coming off the back of the knotless knot.
Yep.
Yeah, you rate that one?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I've used it for about a year now. It's just worked much better. I lose a lot of fish generally, and since I've been using that, I don't lose any, so.
Right, okay. That's a good little tip as well. Putty I see on the hook link, how important do you think that is?
Very important, I think. I mean, it just keeps it. I think as well that when your lead hits the bottom, that wants to sink first, and it might push your hook bait out slightly more as well.
Right, so as it sinks, that bit's going first.
Sink like that instead of just going dunk straight on top of your lead, like, you know.
Right, okay. So you want the hook link outstretched if you can possibly do it, and the bag's going to help that as well.
Yeah.
And what sort of situations would you use that in?
A lot of situations. Whenever I'm fishing on the bottom, basically.
Right.
When I'm fishing over Wolverhampton style, wherever I'm just casting and not knowing where it's landing particularly.
Yeah.
That's when I'll fish that, just in case it lands over a slight twig or anything like that. The break, because it's so supple, you get a good presentation on any bottom.
Right. Okay. And that's a supernatural, I guess, in the green colour.
Yeah, the green supernatural.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's we would say that's your standard bottom bait
rig. Yeah.
Bottom bait rig. Right. Okay. Well, let's move over to this fella, because we talked about the choddy. Yep. When I was asking you about your fishing and the stuff that you've done on Manor and places like that, that is it, is it?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So talk us through how that's set up from that top bit of what's that bit of silicone?
That's that silicone just tied round the overhand knot, just pulled down tight so it moves nice and easy.
Right, but it doesn't move on the cast.
No, it won't move on the cast. It's the perfect pressure to be able to move when a fish pulls it,
right,
not to slide down when you cast.
Right. So if the line snapped above that. If the leg gets caught in something, it'll just slide up and bomb off the end of the line.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And a couple of beads, I take it, to stop the hook link getting over the top of it.
That's it. Yeah. Because if you didn't have them beads, that would just slide up your main line when you cast.
Right. Okay.
And it helps buffer it when it slides down towards your lead.
Right. So the other bit of silicone tied in a knot, that will slide down as you play the fish and end up by the lead.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And talk us through the hook link. What sort of material and everything else?
That's ESP bristle filament.
Right.
A choddy hook. And a nice smelling pop-up.
Yeah, which is a little IB. Illegal, and we're not allowed to say the other word. There's another Ali Hamidi thing that we've all got onto. Right, so it's a size 6 choddy, 12 or 14 mil pop-up, something like that?
Yeah, it's probably 15 mil actually. I've got an 8 mil cork ball inside.
Right,
so it keeps it buoyant all the time. That's really important actually, that it's got a cork ball inside.
Right, so it's pop-up mix, moulded round a cork ball.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so that it's going to stand up. If we turn that the other way so everyone can see, it's effectively going to sit like that on the bottom, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, and that bit of, I'll take it that's putty round there, is it, on that ring
just
swivel?
To sink it perfectly, and because it's got the cork ball inside, it won't change its buoyancy. So,
right,
you know, when you put it out there, first of all, it will still be the same in 12 hours.
Right, okay. So when the carp comes along, it's exactly the same. Right, now, one of the things that would worry me is having that running directly on the main line, pulling down there, and the tension against, or the funny angle against the main line. You've not had a problem with that?
No, not at all, no. I mean, I haven't lost many fish at all, and I've had some big ones on it. Yeah, I better add to just in case. But yeah, no, not yet at all. I'm not sure why, but I think of the bead, and I play them like a girl anyway, so I think I'm all right with it.
Right, and is that the rig you had the Annie on?
It is, yeah.
Right, exactly like that?
Exactly the same.
Right, cool.
Except a brown pop-up and not a yellow one.
Right, okay. And I take it you're not using the lead core and stuff just from a visibility point of view?
Yeah, you can't see it when you put it in the water. All you'll see is that pop-up.
Right.
These look like little bits on the bottom, and because that's up from a fish's point of view above it, all I can see is the yellow pop-up.
Right, okay. And do you fish that over bait on its own? What's your preference?
When I was fishing it before, I was fishing over sort of 20 half baits, just spread everywhere. So there's one there, and
Right.
then that one there.
Okay, and I noticed quite a light lead as well. Is that on purpose, or?
It is, yeah, just because I don't want a big 4-ounce lead hitting a fish on the side of the face when you're playing them, like, you know.
Right. Okay.
A nice lead.
And I
light
take
lead is
it
fine.
you're not fishing far out with that then?
No, under arm in it generally.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And I take it you're slackening off.
Yeah, slackening right off.
So
and
it's
then
all sitting.
when it's slack, it allows that to move up into the fish's mouth.
Right.
Whereas if you've got it tight, they'd have to move down on it to be hooked.
Right, okay, that's a good little thing that you don't think about. If the line's slack, then there is some movement as the fish sucks at it, it will actually lift and go into their mouth.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so different to the one with lead core as well, because if they're sucking it up, there's all that lead core and weight there.
Right, that's got to lift up as well.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Excellent little tips. So if it's clear water, or if... Oh! Oh, what's going on there? That couldn't have happened at a better time, could it?
No.
You have permission to leave.
Obviously here.
They're obviously here. All right, mate, well, look, I'll let you get another rod out there. They're obviously in this bay, and we'll crack on and see if we can get another big one.
Yeah, that's right. Well, one would do.
Quality. Well, we are in it. Oh, it's just weeded me up. We're in again on the same baited spot. There's a lot of fish on the surface. Oh, keep him away from them. It's only a small comment, but it's still welcome. I'll get that net out of the way. There's a lot of Canadian in the edge here. Come on, get in the net. Oh. Get in. Got him. Excellent. What a stunning way to finish a session. Another gorgeous little common. I've certainly enjoyed my first trip on Swan Valley. I'll certainly be coming back here later in the year to try and catch some of these residents at much, much bigger weights. Thank you very much to Tom Dove for coming over here with us and giving us an insight into his fishing and how he got into the trade. And without further ado, we're going to get this fella back, and I'm sure we'll see you on the bank sometime. Thanks very much for watching.
For a chance to see more of the underwater footage shown in this series, check out the state-of-the-art underwater carp fishing series, available from all good tackle shops.
This episode of Thinking Tackle is in association with Daiwa Linear BR Reels.